Alex here. This is the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact. It's basically a smaller version of the more expensive Xperia XZ1, but with a couple of compromises. But before you write it off, I'm just gonna say this now. This is my favorite phone from Sony this year, and here's why. If you've been following all the new phones released this year, you'll know that it's a pretty amazing year for smartphones. Tons of great stuff from most of the mainstream manufacturers. And when you compare those devices with the new XZ1, it doesn't really stand out. I can't even say that it's a huge upgrade over the XZ Premium earlier this year. But when you look at the XZ1 Compact, there is no other Android phone like this. This form factor, combined with a really solid hardware package and feature set, makes it a pretty amazing phone for anyone who likes compact devices. Let's start by talking about design. The matte finish combined with the curves around the edges makes the phone feels great in the hand. The back may look like metal, but it's some sort of plastic. I'm not sure how well this finishing will hold up over time though. It's also not a particularly inspiring or modern looking phone, since it's nothing we haven't seen before from Sony. With 2017 being all about the death of the bezels, the thicker bezels on the XZ1 Compact might disappoint some folks. While I don't deny that they make the phone look older, I don't think it's something that affects the usability of the phone. Especially on such a compact device, it looks just fine. Which brings us to the display itself, which is a 4.6-inch 720p screen, which doesn't sound like much. But put away all the numbers and the mumbo-jumbo marketing terms, just take a look at the display yourself, and what you'll find is a screen that has good viewing angles, nice colors, and good outdoor visibility. On the hardware side of things, another thing worth mentioning is the louder output from the pair of speakers on the phone. I've always found the speakers on previous compact devices a little soft for my liking, but I'm happy to say it's finally loud enough here. It's not the cleanest sound, but for such a small device, I'm not complaining. Just to round up a few more things on the hardware side. The fingerprint sensor is really quick and responsive, you still get a 2-stage shutter button, the headphone jack is still here, and yes, the phone is rated IP68 for water and dust resistance, unlike its predecessor, the X Compact. Then we move on to one of my favorite aspects of the phone, which is the impressive amount of performance this phone has. Not just speed, but also how long the battery lasts. Specifications wise, other than the low amount of storage, it's pretty much the same package as the XZ1, even down to the battery capacity. With less pixels to push around, the phone is fast and responsive most of the time, and lasts me a day of heavy use easily. It's really refreshing to be able to get great battery life on a small phone. I did notice some stutters and app crashes every now and then, but I'm pretty sure it's due to Android Oreo being so new. The XZ Premium I tested earlier with the same chipset has no such issues at all, and I'm seeing the same type of issues on the Google Pixel with Oreo. So while I do love that this is one of the first phones you can buy with Android Oreo out of the box, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. I don't really have much else to say about Android Oreo though, since in day-to-day usage it doesn't feel dramatically different to me compared to Android Nougat. I do want to talk about Sony's software experience though. It's still using the older style of app drawer and horizontal sliding pages, which looks a little dated to me. Over the past few generations of devices, they have also been removing features from their launcher, like the very useful double tap to wake or sleep feature, which makes me wonder why they even bother with a launcher at all. Other than minor tweaks to some of the icons, some additional apps that can be easily disabled, and some smaller features like the Xperia Actions to automate some basic tasks, it's mostly stock Android, which I do like. Something worth mentioning too is the battery care technology and QNovo adaptive charging. Instead of focusing on charging quickly, it focuses more on the lifespan of the battery in the long run. These are built-in batteries after all, and can be a pain to replace. To further push that point forward, or perhaps to cut a bit of cost, the included charger does not support fast charging. Camera-wise, we are looking at a very similar package as the XZ Premium, so a 19-megapixel motion eye camera at the back which supports the capture of 960 frames per second slow motion videos. Those are still extremely fun to play with if you have the patience to time it perfectly. I noticed some tweaks to the camera app to simplify and enhance the experience too, but image quality wise, it's largely similar to the XZ Premium. Image processing can be a bit on the heavier side, but the overall shots are mostly pleasing to look at if you don't pixel peep. It's pretty much just point and shoot most of the time. It's not the best camera around, but it's one that I still enjoyed using. The front camera is now an ultra wide angle camera with the option to crop in for a more normal looking selfie. It looks decent in good lighting, but it really struggles in poorer lighting. The XZ1 or XZ Premium will probably fare a bit better here with better front camera hardware. Then for video captures, Steady Shot is as steady as usual. One of the new and interesting features is actually the ability to do 3D scanning for faces, and then either print them out with a 3D printing service, or you can actually create augmented reality characters to play with. The latter might not be that useful, but I had a really fun time playing with this feature with a friend of mine. I just wish that the scanning process was a lot less finicky. It can be really tricky to get a proper scan, but yeah, I wouldn't call this a deal breaker feature though. What we have with the XZ1 Compact is a truly unique Android phone in the market, and it's one that is genuinely nice to use. It has a few compromises like the ones I talked about earlier, but they are mostly due to space constraints or to keep the cost of the phone a little lower. In Singapore at least, the pricing this time round is a lot more reasonable than previous Sony devices. So if you have been looking for an Android flagship phone that is compact, this is as good as it gets for now. Thanks for watching my review of the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact. If you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and see you guys on the next one.